I pine for you. God, that was stupid. Hello, welcome back to another video. Glad you're here. Today I'm going to make a shadow box, and I'm going to make it out of pine. It's just a cheap, easy wood to work with, but it really looks nice. And you can stain pine. You can stain it, different colors if you want to do like a kind of a cherry look, or mahogany, walnut, oak. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with pine since it's so light. But I'm just going to I'm going to leave it natural, and I'm going to oil it at the end to give it kind of the finished look, like I do with a lot of things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this into strips, about 2 inches wide, and then I'm going to put grooves in them. And as we go along, I'll show you how I'm going to do it. I'm going to put a back in it, and then I'm going to make it to where the piece of glass that covers the front of it, it can be removed easily, and you can change out, your whatever you want to put in the shadow box. It can be easily taken. The glass can be taken off, and you can change out whatever's in the shadow box, and then put the glass back in it. So first off, let's get started. We cut this into 2-inch strips, and then we'll come back and work on grooving them out for the glass in the back. So let's get on that. Alright, so now I've got 2 strips of wood that are 2 inches wide, and they're about 17 inches long. I made them a little bit longer than they needed to be, just because what I'm going to do is after I put the grooves in them, I'm going to cut them down to 8 inches. And it's going to be an 8x8 box, so 2 of them will be 8 inches, and then the other 2 will be shorter to fit in between it to make that 8 inches. But this way, make sure you've got enough wood to work with. So what I'm going to do is, while they're long, I'm going to go on and put the grooves in them, because it's going to make it easier than working with a bunch of small pieces, running them through the saw. And that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the saw. I'm going to bring the saw up probably about an 1/8 inch, maybe 3/16, somewhere in that area. And I'm going to run it through here. It's going to take this little section out. It's at about 1/8 inch up on the wood here. And then I'll probably run the saw through. And the saw kerf, or the width of the blade on the saw, is about 1/8 inch. Just give myself a little more play. I'll probably bump the saw over again and then make another cut. So it should, overall when it's done, it'll be about 1/4 up and 1/4 over. And it'll just have a groove all the way down it. And I'm going to do that on both sides of it, and I'll show you why I'm doing it that way once we get to that point. So let me go on and groove these out, and then get these cut down, and we'll move on to putting it together. Alright, so now what I've done is, you can see I've cut these down to where when it's put together, this is 8 inches and this is also 8 inches. This one's shorter, but it goes in between them. That's why it's shorter. It's cut to fit, so where when it's boxed together like this, it comes out 8 inches by 8 inches. And now what I'm going to do is, this is going to be the bottom. In order to make the glass removable, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece out. And I'm actually going to cut this whole section off right here, so that when it's put together, this will be an opening for the glass to be able to slide down in. And I'm going to take some 3/4 inch by 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch thick, however thick you want to make it. And then I'm going to build a small frame around this to cover up the grooves and everything, like back here, so that when you're looking at it, you don't see all the grooves and everything. There'll be a frame around it. So let me get this cut out, and get this part cut out here, and then we'll go on to putting this together. Some glue and a couple little nails in each end here, just to hold it all together. And then once the glue sets, we'll be able to move on from there. now we're going to let that sit and let the glue dry. Once the glue's dried up, we'll be able to go over here and sand it. Sand it, sand the bottom, make sure everything's flat. Sand all the sides and make sure everything's, good and flat all the way around this. And then we'll move on to getting the back piece put in. Anytime you're doing something like this and you're filling a hole, unless you can match it completely dead on with the color and grain pattern and everything like that, it's better to go on and accentuate it and make it stand out rather than try to hide it and blend it in, because it's almost impossible to make stuff like this completely blend back in and make it look like it was never there. Of course, with something like this, you can miter these corners, 45 them, and put it together that way, and then these won't actually show. But for the way I'm doing it, I just want to make it kind of quick and simple, basic design, and show you that there are other ways to do it besides mitering it, and it'll still look fine in the end. So I'm gonna let this glue finish drying, and then I'm gonna sand everything down, flatten it all up, and get ready to make the frame part, trim and everything on the top to hide these grooves. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the pieces out for the trim or frame around this to get this set up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna I've got and cut these small strips of pine. They're a little different color, a little darker, a little different grain, but I actually like it that way because it's gonna kind of offset, kind of a two-tone, give it a little different look on the face of it as opposed to the sides. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut two of them 8 inches to go across here, and the other two will be let's see, about, I think it was 6.5, about to go in between here. And then put some glue on here and shoot all these down, and then after this glue sets and these are in place, I can come back again, and if anything is off or anything's off here or at this joint, I can be able to sand it now, and then before you actually get to finishing it up. So let me get these cut, we'll get them put on, and then we'll come back and look at putting the back on. Alright, so now what I'm going to do for the back of it here is I'm going to put in a piece of this plywood, and it has kind of a reddish brown darker tint than the rest of it does, but I think it's going to be kind of neat because it's really going to, you see it's going to offset the background and everything else when it's put in. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it to size to fit inside here, and then I'm going to glue it in and just put just a couple of little nails here and there to hold it in place until the glue sets. The glue really does most of the work. The nails are really just to kind of hold everything in place until the glue sets. So I'm going to get this cut to size, get it put in here, glued in, shot in, and then we'll go on to the front of it, cutting the glass to go into here. Alright, so I've decided what I'm going to do. Instead of just oiling this, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take a propane torch and I'm going to light it, and I'm going to go around, I'm going to give everything a light burn, and it's going to give it kind of a charred, rustic look. It's going to be really neat. I've done this a lot of times on different things. It works really well with pine, with the way the grain is and everything. Some of this will be burned in, some of it won't, just with the different densities and shades of the wood. But it's going to look really neat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around this top part and around the sides. I'm not going to do anything on the inside. I want to leave that, leave it light in here. But I'm going to go around the sides and the top right here and burn everything, and then we'll take a look at it after that. After that, pretty much be done, except for cutting the glass and putting it in. And another good thing about doing this is it's going to be really dark and charred. These holes won't actually really show up very much at all after it's burned in. I'll show you at the end. But you're always welcome to cut little pieces of wood, glue them in there, and then sand it off, and clean all that up and accentuate it, or however you want to do it. But let me get this burnt, and then we'll move on from there. going to do is I've got this, it's like 3/16 inch, close to a 1/4 inch piece of glass. And I'm going to use a glass cutter. And I'm going to cut it off here and clean up all this, you know, broken edge and this clipped corner over here. And then I'm going to cut it to size. And after I cut it and break it and get it all down to size, you know, snap off the pieces and make it exactly the size I want, I'm actually going to take some sandpaper, like 80 grit sandpaper, and just go around the edges just a little bit. What that's going to do is, if you've ever cut glass, when you cut it and then you snap it apart, it makes a good clean line, but it also makes can make kind of a real sharp edge where it's cut off. So just along these edges here on both sides will be sanded down just with some sandpaper, just to clean it up and make it to where it's not going to hurt you when you're moving it in or out. Alright, so now as you can see, the glass is cut. It slides in, and we are essentially done at this point. What I'm going to do is I am going to go on and oil this. Baby oil. It's going to kind of pop everything out just a little more, give it just a little more detail and kind of a shine and sheen and everything. You really bring it together. Clean the glass up, oil it up, put the glass back in, and then we'll take a look at the final product. And there it is, all ready to go. I said I'm not going to do it with my hands because there's still oil and everything else, but I'll show that you can see how the glass comes out, goes back in, it sets up. You can lay it, you know, you can have it laid down or standing up. How you want to do it, you can hang it, you know, hang it up on a wall, you know, whatever works best for your situation. And then I said I'll do it just a little bit. You can see how you can get a hold of it here. Pull this out, rearrange, do whatever you need to do inside here, put the glass back in, and then you're ready to go again. I'll get some better pictures of this here in a minute to show at the end. Really kind of see everything a little better. But that's pretty much it. I think it looks pretty nice. And that's going to do it for another one. Thank you all for stopping by and watching the videos. I always appreciate it. If you have any ideas for project or something you might want to see, leave a comment down below, and we'll see if maybe one day we can do a viewer requested project, woodworking and stuff like that. If you like the content here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And then when you subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified of the upcoming videos. Keep watching cars drive by because the door's open. But anyway, that's going to do it for another one. We'll see y'all next time. Take care.